Okay, so good day and night, everyone, wherever you are. By the way, since I'm mentioning wherever you are, if you can drop your city and name into the chat so we know which communities we're serving. Welcome to Los Angeles Data Platform User Group. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Steve, and I will be your host and moderator of this virtual meeting. I'll be joined by Yelena. Yelena is going to be taking care of Raffle. For people that don't know Yelena, she is the treasurer of our nonprofit. Now, please visit our Eventbrite and Meetup pages to get notified of any upcoming events. You can click on those hyperlinks. And of course, if there's any problem, you try to communicate with us, you can just send us an email. We are meeting every Wednesday of every third Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And okay, if you're attending us for the first time, or maybe you don't know how to follow us, here's all the links you can follow. It includes all the social media, I think, plus a bit more. We're available on YouTube and Rumble, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and also we have GitHub for session articles for speakers that don't have their own website or they have their own GitHub. You'll be able to find some previous session abstracts and PowerPoints. Okay. Please feel free to join our mailing list. This way you can receive our weekly newsletters as well as any event notifications. We usually start sending upcoming event notification. We also send an email once the video is ready. This way you can keep hearing from us more often than social media. And at the end of this meeting, we'll be raffling a custom t-shirt. So please feel free to scan QR code or follow this link to enter your name. This is a form that is going to collect the data, and Yelena is going to do some randomizer magic to choose the person that is going to receive a t-shirt. There are a couple of disclaimers that you need to be present to win. Wait a second, I think I need to mute someone. Okay. We can only send t-shirts, we can only mail t-shirts inside the US, otherwise it's the t-shirt is going to be twice the price. And we use we send a few times to Canada and India.
Surprisingly, the price for Canada and India is almost the same. Canada, you can almost reach, like, you know, you just reach out and you're right there, but the price is almost the same.
And we also used to have different colors for the t-shirt. Now it's all only white. This event is sponsored by Data Delivery Technologies. We call it DDT for short, and it's an organization that is financing Los Angeles Data Platform User Group monthly meetings, as well as our once a year SQL Server in Los Angeles event. During this presentation, please feel free to drop questions in the chat. And without further ado, let's move to the rockstar of today's online meeting. Blythe, please take it away and introduce yourself.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me in the evening, just after dinner, on this beautiful Wednesday. I am coming to you from Vancouver, Canada, so I will be the Canadian on the call. Now, because I'm Canadian, and before I get into my talk, I just need to say that round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs are happening right now. And there are 2 Canadian teams playing each other, the Oilers and the Flames. And I know you guys are probably rolling your eyes. The Oilers beat the Kings last week. So I'm sorry about that. But if anybody wants to like randomly drop the score in the chat, I would very much appreciate it because I've been watching it up to this point, and it's quite exciting. So I think we're at 3-1 right now. So, you know, it's just a Canadian thing. All right. So I am Blythe. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the one person in the SQL community that does marketing. I'm a writer by trade, and I own a marketing agency. Please don't hold it against me because I've been in SQL Server my entire career. I started as the community manager of the Professional Association for SQL Server. And after 2 years of working and supporting chapters just like these and SQL Saturdays and etc., I started my own team. And now I really get to marry the two things that I love the most, which is like SQL Server and data and storytelling. So I spend most of my time working with organizations that either build products around SQL Server or for SQL Server users like yourself, or consulting companies who want to come and, you know, and need to tell their story and be able to communicate what they do. I work with a lot of blogs all day and all night. I'm either writing blogs, I'm helping build blogs, I'm building websites that have blogs. And so most of my career has been focused around creating content that gets clicks and views. And one of the things that I find really interesting is, you know, the whole tech blog community, and I've always loved it, and it's still really, really prolific. And it's a great way not only to share the things that you're learning in your job or in your or you know, in your day-to-day as you're learning more about this crazy and expansive Microsoft data platform, and then of course all the other things, the Amazon infrastructure suite, or any of the business intelligence tools that a lot of you folks are using. But it also is a way to like meet other people and other folks who are doing similar things to you. And creating that catalog of expertise that you've built not only helps you in your career, but it helps other people in theirs. And so I'm really happy to be able to talk to you all today about what it means to build a blog and just some tips about how you can create something that maybe is more than just communicating to a small group of people about what you do and what you've learned. Maybe it can really be something with a little bit of consistency and a little bit of know-how around how to blog these days. So I have a PowerPoint. I'm not a huge PowerPoint person, but I did make some slides. I think what we'll do, I need to be off the call at 8 o'clock because I have 2 very small children. So I have 45 minutes where I'm going to talk to you. I can answer any questions that you have about how you want to build your blog. I've got some great tips on how to communicate, and then also keywords and SEO and all of that great stuff that we hear a lot about, but that I've proven work with the agency and with our clients. Steve's going to, like he said, he's going to interrupt me. Just ask questions and let's just make it chill and organic because it's a Wednesday evening. And please update the hockey games. I was joking with a client from Missouri. I have a client in Missouri, and I said, well, it's just us. You know, we have to do a test in Canada to get into grade school. Like when you're 4 years old, there's a test of can you cross-check properly? Like can you do it? Okay. All right. Let me just share my screen. Oh, thank you. Keep it coming. It's still 3-1, huh? I'm an Oilers fan, so that's not the greatest. Okay. Building a better blog. All right, so I'm going to start with just kind of like basic external communication tips. But before I do this, I want to I want to ask you a question about why you're even doing this. You know, I named a couple of things when I was first introducing myself, and I'm talking about blogging, right? Why are you blogging? What is the point? Because that's really going to guide your strategy of how you build it and how you build consistency into your marketing plan. Oh, did my video stop working? You know what? That's fine. As long as you can see my screen.
No, just your. Yep, screen is fine.
Okay, great. So why are you even blogging? Some of you may be consultants, and you may be on this call looking for tips as to how to bring more traffic to your website so that you can transition them from a blog to a sales motion, right? So that you can demonstrate that you have authority in what you're blogging about, and then move them from, you know, teaching them about the certain things about performance tuning or data warehousing or what have you, and moving them into, I want to hire this person to do this work. And that may be your intention, and that is completely fine. You may be just sharing your knowledge as you learn it, and using the blog as a means to build a community of people who can all learn and share together. And that's a really beautiful thing. But we're gonna promote the blog a little bit differently than if we were doing a sales motion where you're trying to convert folks to paid customers, right? And then you may be doing a blog just to see what else is out there, right? And to connect with other companies that are doing the same thing as you. And it may be more of a relaxed thing. And so understanding what you want to blog about, but also why you're blogging, is really important as we go through here. I've got some basic external communication tips here up on the screen. I'd like to think about how to communicate before and once we've solidified your why, because this is really, really important. I think that folks kind of get caught up in some really interesting things, and I just want to cut them off. So the first thing is that when you are writing your blog post, the most important thing to remember, especially if it's a technical post or a technical blog, is that people don't consume blog posts like an economist's magazine, or almost like a newspaper, right? You don't read them in depth, lying in bed, right before you go to sleep, going through Steve's blog. That's not how people subsume it. We are scanners, and we do this on web copy as well, and it translates beautifully into the blog. So the user that you are writing this for is hunting for something. They are scanning your copy. So they are looking for things like titles, headings, bullets, bolded text, italicized things. They're looking for the information to be structured in a way where they can easily scan it, find what they need. And the more you give people what they're looking for quickly, it's weird because it's kind of like the opposite happens. They'll actually stay on page longer because they will go deep when they need to go deep. Whereas if they're scanning and they can't find what they're looking for, they're just going to exit. And of course, when we build our blog, we're looking for those longer time on page, right? Because that's going to increase our search engine ranking. What I'd like to do, basic when I'm starting to build a blog, what do I want to communicate? And then what are the points that support that point you want to communicate, right? And so when you understand what you want to communicate and you can articulate that, put that right at the front. You know that old adage that's like, tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you told them. I think that's really important here, because if you hook me with a really great title, I want to know what I'm going to learn, and I want to know if I want to go deeper. Try to resist being cute or clever. I know it's hard sometimes, but I really believe that clarity is kindness. And a lot of cute or clever blogs, a lot of them actually make sense to you, but they end up in confusion. It's like a confusing topic. It doesn't make sense, right? And so when you're writing your blog post, be as clear as you can and vary your sentence length. And that just makes it super easy to read. So you want a short and snappy sentence. It was a dark and stormy night. That is so much more impactful and gripping than the trees were rattling. I walked up, and when I walked up the steps, I grabbed my hand onto the banister, turned around, and saw that there were clouds in the sky. When you use short sentences, it just really hits hard. And I think a lot of folks, when they begin building their writing chops, you use a lot of like commas. Commas are your enemy. So it's like, there was this comma, then this comma, this comma, this comma, and then you've lost someone. So really vary that sentence length. And then I've got a couple of other little ones that I just wrote down specifically for this audience. And I know you've seen this before, and you're probably going to laugh, but make source code really easy to find. And any contact information or any, if you've discovered or if you've untangled something really complicated, if someone wants to reach out to you, I think it's a great opportunity for you to make some connections and find people who are going through the same thing as you, right? Especially, you don't just need to be trying to convert sales to build really great connections. And so put contact information on the blog, put source code, and make things downloadable, make it really interactive. And then, so these are just kind of like my writing tips. I know this isn't like a writing session. I do have a how to write a kick-ass anything session. But this, I'm going to leave it here. I think they're really important. And if you really struggle with writing compelling blog posts, these 4 things can really make a difference. So let's go and talk a little bit about developing your content for a blog. This is where a lot of folks, when they start blogging, this is where they get stuck. Because, you've got a couple of really great ideas, you start your blog, maybe it kind of tapers off to once a month, and then it kind of tapers off to once a quarter, and then you haven't written on your blog for a couple months and you've lost your momentum. And I know some of the more prolific bloggers in our community talk about consistency and how important consistency is when you are, you're really building a blog worth reading. But the trick isn't in consistency. The trick is this content strategy and planning out what you're going to write. And there is a method of building a blog that I really like to use, that most of the professional bloggers use. It's called the hub and spoke model. This is SiteCare's really great little graphic, and I love it. But what we're going to do is we're going to learn and we're going to start building content in a hub and spoke model. Okay, so you've got a blog. Instead of writing, I don't want you to stop writing about things that you find or challenges that you've overcome in your role, but I want you to start thinking about building your content in a way where it all, like, topics cluster around each other. You know how on a blog we have categories, right? And you can tag categories. Well, the content clustering really takes these categories to the next level. So we start with it's called a pillar page or a long form article. So what we do in the agency is typically, because it's not just writing blogs anymore, there's also video components and live webinars and live streams, and all of these ways you can create content. What I tell a lot of my CEOs, of my clients, I say, take the dog out for a walk, or just go for a stroll, or walk around your kitchen, or don't do the dishes, but do something with your hands. I like to knit. I was knitting right before we started this, and talk about one large core concept. And so, for example, I was talking with a group by folks earlier today, and we were talking about what Azure Synapse is. So I still haven't found a really good answer. And we even have somebody from Microsoft on our community, and it was so confusing. And so we were talking about doing, how great would it be if we had a session or we had a piece of content that was the history of BI, right? Or the history of the evolution of the data warehouse. So that could be a pillar page on your blog. And you could write 11 to 1,500 words. I know it's a long article, but it's going to be worth it. You write a longer in-depth piece that covers a number of different topics. And that is going to be like a pillar piece of content on your blog. And then over the next quarter, over the next 3 months, you would write between 4 and 6 or 4 and 7 articles that are going to link into that pillar page. So you may write an article about hybrid clouds. You may write an article of multi cloud data warehouses, or you may write an article about data quality and where that's going. This is just a horrible example from a marketing person. But each one of those can honestly be between 550 and 750 words. They're literally half as large, and they are going to be great tidbits or snippets of content that you can link into your pillar pages. And so what that tells Google is that all of this content is related, and those pillar pages are more important. And so Google will drive more traffic to those larger pages. And I'm going to go through some SEO stuff closer to the end of this session. And I know a lot of you you're not trying to build these huge businesses, right? Like, you're not trying to get to the top of Google. Some of you might, but I think most folks are writing to share their knowledge and participate in this community. But if you're going to take time to write the content, if you're going to take time to build a blog and share your knowledge, let's do some strategy work just to make sure some folks are listening and who can find the information they're looking for. And one of the best ways in a blog is content clustering, because it tells Google, or it tells the search engines, that the pillar pages you are creating are important. All right. So just to reiterate, we're going to have one long page with multiple topics all around a core concept. And then we're going to have smaller articles that link into it, right? It's an internal linking concept. It's what a lot of the larger B2B companies are doing, and you can adapt it, you can steal it and make it work for you. So I'm going to dive a little bit into SEO. I have write 300 plus words. 300 words is the absolute minimum. Like, you write less than 300 words, and I don't think Google even ranks it. I think you need, that's kind of like 2 paragraphs. And so make sure that whatever content you're creating has enough words to be able to really convey a topic. It can't just all be pasted code, right? You have to actually write what you discovered. And there is a good side to this and there's a bad side to this. The good side is that you get to actually write down your experience with how you solve this specific technical problem. The bad side is that when you're looking for a recipe on seriouseats.com, you have to go through 600 words of crap before you actually get to the recipe at the bottom. Both are a result of Google's algorithm, right? But let's just try for more than 300 words. I would aim for 500 or 5,500 just to be sure. But yeah, I understand that sometimes it can just be screenshots, and you've just discovered this incredible thing that you wanted to share. So I get that. Make sure that you take time to use keywords in your headlines. Your H1, H2, and H3s are going to be really, really important. So when you're doing your pillar pages, make sure that you have H1, your top header, H2, your section headers, and then H3s, which are kind of like your like section highlight pieces, and use them in your spoke articles as well. I think that having specific keywords in the title is important. We're going to get to that in a second, but using those headlines will help a lot. Got a couple of pieces here about providing details, facts, stats, takeaways, and using examples and very concrete language. I talk a lot about this with marketers when I'm talking to other marketing consultants of how to build their business, but I know you folks, and I know that no one kind of like states the facts and delivers the details and then really helps with examples like the data folks. You guys are great at that. I've never seen a blog post that just like didn't give facts. You're like, why would you even be writing it? So I think that goes without saying for you. I've got a couple of just like overarching external comm cheat sheets. Use short paragraphs, not one long, crazy, rambling paragraph. Don't do that. We talked about short sentences. And what I like to do, and my copywriter, I have a full-time copywriter who works for me, and I bless her heart, you know, because I take her work and I just go back over everything once it's done and delete as many unnecessary words as possible, because clarity is kindness. I try to avoid as much jargon as possible, and that's hard in the data platform. It is so hard. You know, it took me 18 months working at PASS to learn what SSMS is. I didn't know. And people were just using this acronym, and nobody actually ever said it in SQL Server Management Studio. And so myself, as someone who is just learning what SQL Server was, and, you know, tipping my toe into the community and into the technology I didn't even know. And so really think about that when you're writing your articles, right? Because there could be somebody who is just really not there and who's trying to learn and who's landed on your blog. I think the rest is pretty self-explanatory. Let me just say that I would highly recommend using the first tense. You can maybe use second tense, but don't use third tense. So don't use don't use passive voice or one. You know, one can assume that we would execute this query with, no, just use I and me and talk to someone who is you. I think that's kind of the standard nowadays, and we're pretty informal in this blogger community. So let's do that.
Blythe?
Okay. Yes. Is there a question?
Yes, actually not really a question, but more of a suggestion. This is a website, or essentially a tool that I found useful, Grammarly.
I use Grammarly too.
Yep. Super useful, and again, might skip some of the work of your editor.
Yes. And if you want to go a step further, there's the Hemingway app. So the Hemingway app kind of takes Grammarly to the next level, and you can put whole chunks of text into it. And it's quite remarkable with how good it can get your blog, like how tight it can get your language. So Grammarly and the Hemingway app. There's definitely a free version. I write all day long, so I pay for it.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. It's kind of like, you know, those transcription services, Otter and Fireflies. I sit in so many meetings where I'm recording executives, and then I have to write content from it that I just pay for it. Because, but they're great if you want to just, you know, I think you get 120 minutes a month. So that's fine. You could take a couple of days a week. You could just take the dog for a walk and talk out a blog post. Just talk it out, transcribe it, and then all you have to do is edit it. And I do that a lot. So I'm going to move on to SEO now. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
I believe Microsoft Word also has that feature of transcribing.
Does. It's not great, unless it's gotten better since the last time I tried it was in 2020. I had really bad carpal tunnel in my wrists, and I actually couldn't type for 3 months. And I had to dictate. I had to use the dictate function in Word, and it was awful. Have you used it?
I use it for small dictation, just for a to-do list.
Yeah. You can try it, because you know it's going to get good.
Yeah.
It's going to become.
And more for the exhibition. Then now director HR, director finance reject. Hey, you say you talk to. I don't know. You say you talk to director RTD. Wait for him to kind of tell me what's the problem.
Now, the resources you're referring to, are you going to make available a list of those at the end or sometime? I may have missed that part.
Anything that pops up, sure, I can do that. I can just resources that we talked about and or I recommend. I have some SEO ones in the next couple of slides, but I don't have a comprehensive list of things that I use to write blogs. There's also, while we're talking about tools, has anybody heard of copy.ai or any of the blog copy generators? So what you do is you put your idea in of what you would like to write about, and it writes headlines and titles for you using those keywords. So that can be really, and it'll do like executive summaries and such too. So you can put in just some random copy that you've written, and it will create an executive summary for you. And it can be really helpful in just changing the tense of what you're writing or expanding on copy when you just need a little bit of help. All right, let's talk about SEO. So there are 6 pieces to SEO. I just think this is important, and you should really have a basic understanding of SEO if you're going to have a blog. So I believe in this. If you are like Blythe, I'm just blogging just to have a like a backlog of the things I've learned in my job. That's fine, totally fine. But I think if you really want people to read your blog, just basic SEO goes a long way. So I only work on WordPress websites. I don't. I know there are a lot of options out there. I've just been using them my whole career, and I'm at that point in my career where I'm fortunate enough that I get to pick. And so I only work on WordPress websites. And so if you have a WordPress website, I cannot recommend Yoast enough. It's pretty bulky, so it is heavy on the website. So depending on what version of WordPress you have, download Yoast and then double check your speed score. We're going to talk about speed score in a second. You can use GT metrics with an X at the end to check your speed score after you add the plugin. But it is so good. Every post that you have is going to tell you which items on your website optimization or your blog optimization you've hit. Like, oh, okay, it's got a couple of outbound links. Great. It's got your keyword like this. Great. Or there are all of the images that you uploaded have alt tags. Good job. And then it'll say, but it's missing these 3 things. And you just fix it as you're building it. I don't know how many blogs I've had to go through and go back through like 100 posts adding meta descriptions. If you're doing it and checking Yoast as you're going, it's a heck of a lot easier than having to go back. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have this action plan. We're going to do the most important pieces, and then we're going to go back. So a lot of these, how do I want to say this? Back about 10 years ago, 10 years ago, before the Google was sophisticated enough, you used to be able to just write blog posts that were complete junk, where you just added a ton of keywords that you wanted to rank for, and Google would rank it. So it happened all the time in our industry. So I don't know if you've ever been onto, like, you're looking for a database application of some sort, you're going through some kind of sales motion, you're on some company's blog site, and you stumble upon an article that just looks like junk keywords. That's what that is. And so a really popular thing that companies are hiring folks just like you to do, actually, is to go back through their blogs and fix these articles so that they actually make sense to real people who may buy their products. And so your SEO action plan, number one, is to replace your existing keywords to look at your analytics and see, okay, these are my 3 most popular blogs. I'm going to go back through and I'm going to make sure the right keywords are there so that if people are searching for a specific, problem that they're having, that my blog post is going to show up. However, you're not going to go so far that the article won't make sense, because that's not a nice thing to do, and you will not get rewarded for it, because Google is smart enough now to know if the article is well written. So the second SEO action plan, this is for my consultants in the room, for the folks who want to build business and create like an actual marketing automation piece from your blog. You need to create a landing page that's dedicated to every key, like the top keyword phrases, and then have your blog linked to them. I'm not going to go into this, but this is kind of your basic strategy, right? So if you did SQL Server performance tuning engagements, and you were building a consulting site, and all you wanted to do was performance tuning engagements, well, then we would create a specific landing page dedicated to SQL Server performance tuning Los Angeles, for example. The third thing is that I'm going to show you a tool that is a great blog topic generator for you, and it's going to give you some great long tail format keywords, meaning that the keyword strings are more than 2 or 3 words. They're going to have very, very low search volume. Like, what the heck is Azure Synapse? I don't get it. That's a long keyword, but that's something that me might type into Google because I still don't know what it is. You could say, like, a long tail keyword I just had for a SQL Server shop was what's new. They want to rank on what's new in SQL Server 2022, right? Because the build is coming out with all of that stuff pretty quickly here. And as people are searching for it, they want to rank for it. So we're looking for everything around that clusters around that topic that's long tail, so that we can rank for those lower search word pieces. And so they're going to create blog posts based on that. And then the meta descriptions, that's going to be inside your WordPress instance. Inside your WordPress post, you can add metadata on top of your blogs. And you want to make sure you're doing that for each one. I've just got a couple more, and then I'll pause so you can ask me questions. Work to build backlinks. The SQL Server community is so good for this. So do your T-SQL Tuesday. Ping people. Link to other blog posts, and they'll link back to you. Okay, most folks in the SQL Server community are so good with this. This is how this is like an all high tides rise all boats kind of thing. If you can build backlinks, this is why companies write press releases and post them on Newswire, and nobody ever sees them, but they write them anyways, and they pay $200 for nothing, because they're building backlinks. This is why you get a lot of junk in your email asking people asking you if they can post on your blog, or if they can guest post on your blog. They're building backlinks. All right. So then, of course, your step 6 is kind of like repeating it over again with your different bucket of keywords, and then setting up your Google console. So we're going to talk about that in a second. This is your action plan. And I'm going to go through, I think, how many tools do I have? 1, 2, I think 3 tools that are going to help you do this. Are there any questions? That was a lot, and I went through it really quickly. So just take a sip of water.
Do you have any particular way of trying to change from a how-to blog into something that is more sophisticated?
Give me more. What do you mean? How sophisticated? Like,
Okay, but
to what?
my usually problem is I usually write the how-to section. This is not a blog post. The how-to section doesn't have enough potatoes. So what philosophy do you follow to adding some verbiage and makes it more like a blog post versus just a how-to section?
All right, so I would follow this formula because I've done a lot of this. When I discovered this, whatever this how-to thing is, I discovered this because I wanted to what? I was trying to do X and something was getting in the way of me trying to accomplish this thing, right? And so I applied these steps, and as a result, I either succeeded, and the success of those steps led to these things, or if this hadn't have worked, what could have happened? What was the failure? Like if I had done this, if I had, executed this stored procedure in this specific way, right? Then this, this is the outcome. And you can even take it a step further, Steve. And as a result of this outcome, I didn't just, complete this task, but I was able to give it to someone, or give this data to someone, or save this company time, or reduce the storage on this database, or what have you. And you can kind of paint a little bit of picture of success. And that's where you can also elevate it to the business, right? Whereas when you're talking about something so technical and it's very how-to, a lot of times you get kind of stuck in that technology, and your blog is a way to think about how it impacts the business more overarching, or your entire team, or the budget, or what have you. So try that. And then also think about what happens if you can't figure this out. Like if you hadn't solved this, what could have been other workarounds, or what could you have done, or what would you have lost? And you can paint a picture of that as well.
Got it.
Just some ideas.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to give you a couple tools here, and then I'm going to stop and let you ask me all your blogging questions. Keep your eye on the prize. So set up your Google console. That's going to give you, it's free. And it's going to give you your overall site ranking plus the ranking for your keywords. And then because you are verifying your blog on Google Search Console, it tells Google that you're the owner. And then you get like all this cool, you just get a whole bunch of cool data that you wouldn't get with just having Google Analytics. So highly recommend that one.
This used to be Webmaster Tools?
Yeah.
Okay. But in order for that, you need to be hosting your own website. You cannot use WordPress.com, right? You cannot upload there because they're hosting it.
No. You can use it. You can use your own hosting. You can use whatever hosting you want. You have to have the DNS record. Like you have to hold the you have to be the owner of the. Say that again.
Domain name.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
You're saying
you need to own
they're
that.
no longer validating the domain using HTML page, or what they were using before, HTML page, or I think they were using before HTML page or something else. You're saying that this is no longer needed. You can use, let's say, WordPress.com and still get that search console?
Search console, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter where it's hosted.
Cool, thank you.
We've talked about Yoast. So I won't talk about that again. I just love it and think you should use it. Other one that I think.
Does Yoast has any free option, or this is only paid?
Yes. Yep. There's a free option.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why Yoast came in here twice, but here it is again. Google Trends is really good. It'll help you. One of the things that is hard in the SQL Server space is that there is a lot of competition for not a lot of keywords. So it never ever do a Google ad campaign for SQL Server Consulting, ever. It's a horrible idea because you'll pay a lot and nothing converts. I've tried. So Google Trends kind of helps narrow down keywords so that you're not writing, you're not choosing keywords. It's like SQL Server Performance Tuning, because you're going to be competing against hundreds of thousands of blog posts. And so it just gives you, more more popular words to use. And then there's this other tool that I love that's called Ubersuggest. This is free. So all of this is free. I cannot believe that this is free. Neil Patel, over the last 10 years, has kind of been like the name in SEO and organic search building. He's got a huge agency and he created Ubersuggest for free for whomever wants to use it, which I think is amazing. So what this tool does is you put in your keywords and then he'll give you 10 others you can use. I've never personally used trends.google.com, but my web team does all the time when they're helping develop a content strategy. They use this one and they use Ubersuggest, and we have a tool called Ahrefs, which is paid. It's $180 a month. I'm very salty about it, but it gives competitor keywords. And if you do SEO for a living, you have to bite the bullet and pay for it. And those are the three tools we use. So if for your blog, you claim your blog site on Google Console and then you use Google Trends and Ubersuggest, you will be gold with how you with like finding really cool keywords to rank for. So I'm running out of time. The last thing I will say though is that there is I've built like a little Excel template that I use to manage and plan my content, because for me it's important to know what hub, like I call it hub and spoke, so pillar content or hub content I'm building, and then what the spokes are, right? What are those like supporting articles? And so you'll see in the chat I posted the Excel link. You can go ahead and download that and use the same content planning doc I do. I've also got it here in it's on my Papersword SharePoint site, so be nice. But it's open for you to download if you so like it. And so we need to remember that content is king. And if you do these 4 things, you will build a better blog. Combine an organic blog strategy with keyword optimization. What's the score? What's the score? It just dawned on me that I haven't learned in half an hour. Get real fancy. Focus on long tail keywords in your blog posts and think about your calls to action, even in a blog. Tell them what you want them to do if you want them to do anything, right? Again, if you're trying to generate leads, or if you're trying to get them to download something or book a call or what have you, right? Thank you. Any questions? I'll go on camera here. I think my camera just dissipated. Hit me.
One is about
1 to 4. Oh God. Sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm all right.
All right. As it relates to someone starting the blog, how long does it get indexed? What is a good so are 15 to 30 blogs for the initial 90 days. A good approach.
How many blogs, sorry?
15 to 30. So
For
on
90
average,
days?
yeah, I know that's
Yeah.
1 to 2 blogs a week.
I mean, if you can keep that cadence, heck yeah. I don't know anybody other than like Brent who blogs that much. Who blogs that much? It's wild.
Yeah, but taking a different approach of taking an idea of a series, breaking down that series, and then put it out
Yeah.
for each month. And that I see as a quick way to do that.
Yeah, and then when you're done the series, you could turn it into a white paper and have it as a downloadable resource on your blog.
I like the idea of the white paper portion.
Yeah, I really like blog series because it helps. You can combine them to different kinds of content, right? So
Yeah,
I think that's
exactly.
a great idea, as long as you use long pillar content with the spokes. So don't just write 15 blog posts about whatever, right? Like be intentional with clustering the content and then having that internal linking. That will really help.
I see what you're saying. So let's say one writes about, for a good example here would be how to write a query, right? So you start to write, oh,
Yeah.
these are selects. And then next one, this is from, hey, if you want to learn about select, click here to read about the other one. That's internal links you're talking about, where as I'm trailing down, I'm saying, hey, if you want to learn more about this, there is this reference here. That's in another blog I wrote before.
Yeah.
Now, inside the blog itself, as far I know that you gave a bit coverage there regarding how to best structure. Do we have some more ideas how one develops that structure for the content?
Oh,
Does it
like
make sense?
do you mean like how to actually do it at like the outline of the content itself? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, correct. Kind of how to best define flow. There was a gentleman who asked about, oh, I only write about how-to blogs, right? So, for example, if it is how to query, then would be, hey, this is how you structure a query. That would be the title and summary on the top. Coming down and talking about 3 key points. You have a select, from, and where, and then elaborate on that. Something like that.
Yeah. So I like to take a little bit more of a narrative approach personally. I like to say, okay, so you are a brand new DBA and you want to learn how to create a query. So you want something, Mr. Reader, right? The problem is that you're really struggling. There's a lot of information out there. So I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you create this, I'm going to help you write your first query. So I like doing wants, what the person wants, what's getting in the way of them getting what they need, and then break down the solution. And then that solution, so you say, okay, here's a basic select clause, here's a basic, where clause, whatever, right? That solution gives you some kind of result. Okay, so now that we've learned how to build your first query, now you can go ahead and open up SSMS, and capital G, capital O, whatever, right? Success. I don't know.
So it sounds like it would be something like, hey, this is what we are trying to do here.
Yeah.
And outline kind of, these are the challenges. This is the desired outcome or solution result. And here's an example or more, right?
Yeah.
Kind of approach.
Yeah, and then make sure you have that summary, or the ending, the conclusion, either ends in success or it ends in failure, because you can write a great blog post about trying something and implementing something and it not working. And there's a story there, right? And so that's like a really viable blog post. You wanted something got in the way, you applied a sequence of steps and it didn't work. And ipso facto, Microsoft sucks. I don't know. for whatever reason. So,
All right.
all right, guys, I'm sorry. I've got to go. I've got to go put my kids to bed.
Okay. Thank you for presenting. Now we have
Thank you
few
for
more
having me.
slides.
Thank
but
you.
Sure. Thank you, Blythe.
Thank you.
And with that being said, thank you everyone for joining our online meeting today. Have a great day and see or hear you next time. Thank you.
Thank you all there.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.